We are now recording. And so if you would rather remain anonymous, then please turn off your video. Especially in the first thing in the morning, we will totally understand. Alternatively, raise a cup of tea to us and wake up this morning. And also, I'd recommend renaming yourselves if you would rather not have everybody know that you're here. So to do that, you just need to click on the icon of yourself and the 3 dots at the top of that little picture, or alternatively go into participants and you've got the option to rename yourself. We've also got the chat function down the bottom. We would love to hear from you. We had some really vibrant conversation in there last night, which went off in all sorts of directions and was wonderful. Really exciting to hear how people are interacting and what they're getting from these sessions. If you didn't put in there last night where you're from, would you please pop in the chat where you're from? And then in a little bit, Naomi's going to give you a bit of a challenge, Naomi, or a task to think about interacting on there as well. And then down the bottom, we've also got our reactions. So we've got our round of applause, thumbs up, hearts, crying with laughter, wow, and a little bit of celebratory one, which I think that the moths, sounds like the mothers haven't got so many visitors to their traps last night. So when we do get something, then give them a bit of a thumbs up and a bit of a round of applause for the moths for coming out in the wet and windy weather last night. Would be lovely. So I'm going to pass over now to Naomi, who is our host for this morning.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. And we're all really excited to see what is going to be revealed today. This is our last Watch Moths of 2020, and we have more mothers from across Britain than normal. In fact, Jenny's been putting you all onto a map which shows where you've come from. And so if you haven't put down on chat where you are, then that would be great. We'll get a full map of representation on this Watch Moths. Thank you. And just to remind you that we're part of the Art and Energy Collective, and we're working creatively to address climate change and to share more about renewable energy, encourage people to use it and ask questions about it. And we're really interested in the way energy flows from the sun through nature in us, and how we're all interconnected. And if we're working well together, then the planet remains more healthy. So we're going to be getting on with our first mothers, but before I do, we wouldn't all be here in this way if the COP26 wasn't happening in Glasgow. There was lots of negatives there, but anyway, COP26 was due to happen in Glasgow this year in about 3 weeks' time. The world leaders were all coming across to talk to each other about what they can do, what they can save in terms of their carbon emissions, and protect the planet and us in the process. And so they haven't met, and this project, Moths to a Flame, was all about talking to them and sending them a message. And what I would like you to do, what we would like you to do, is in chat, leave your one message that you would tell world leaders. What would you hope they would do in the future to make the planet a better place for all living creatures? And so it'd be great if you could do that and share that as part of the chatting that's going on, and we might remind you later on in the programme. Is there anything I've forgotten, Jenny? Shall we get on with our first place?
Yeah, the only other thing that we'd talked about, Naomi, was that we've got quite a few people who had moth traps out last night who aren't presenting this morning. Yes. So if you got something exciting in your trap last night, or you'd like to share a photo, ideally a photo, maybe 2 photos tops, then please do feel free to share those on our Facebook page. There's a chain of conversation on there, just reminding people about this morning's session. So if you pop it in there as part of the comments, There's already a couple on there from Mighty Moth Girl and from Amy. So we might, if we've got time, we'll pop over there and have a look to see what lovely images we've got this morning.
Yeah, great, thank you. So we're first of all, we're going off to see what Simon has found in Devon. Simon, are you there? In the woods. I know he's there because we've already seen him. But hello, Simon. You need to make yourself. Yeah.
Morning, everybody. How's the sound?
Yeah, good. Good.
Will do. Well, I'm delighted to be here. I think do I get a badge? I think I've been to every single one.
I think you do get a badge. I'm trying to think of what our presenters will get as a little reward for all their time and effort.
Oh.
Maybe a badge, but maybe something even better. You never know.
I like wine.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or beer.
All right.
Morning, everybody. Right. Well, I'm really excited because I've got some beautiful moths in the trap. I'll give you a little tour of where I am, so I'll give you your bearings. But the weather was kind here in Exeter last night. Early on, we had a half moon and the stars were out, and I thought, oh, it's going to be really cold, could be struggling. But then the cloud has come across and there's a little bit of drizzle in the air, and I think we're expecting a lot more rain later. But it was obviously fairly warm in the second half of the night, and I've got some really nice things to show you. I'm going to swivel this around and show you where I am, and then I can zoom in on the trap. So to just give you your bearings, hopefully you can just see in the distance there some houses.
Yeah, we can see
them. On the north edge of Exeter. And I'm in a little patch of woodland. It's on the edge of Mincing Lake Valley Park, which is now run by the Devon Wildlife Trust. And it's a bit of what we call in ecology secondary woodland. So it's, I think probably in the past it was a scrubby slope, and it's being colonized by trees. So we've got some small oak trees, some ash trees. Lots of ash trees here have already lost their leaves, and there's some more small oak trees here, and I've put the trap beneath this small oak. And the other thing to say that's quite nice about this area is you can probably see that it's got these beautiful shuttlecock ferns here. And what else have we got? We got, this is Tutson, which is actually an ancient woodland indicator. And we have actually got some hart's tongue fern as well, which is also an ancient woodland indicator. So maybe this has been woodland in the past and has been felled, and is re-establishing itself. Anyway, you want to see what I've got in my trap, don't you? So let's zoom in. So my trap is homemade. It's just exterior plywood box with these perspex baffles, and I run a 15-watt. It's a fluorescent tube. It's basically what you find in well, old-fashioned kitchens like mine, anyway. It's not a very powerful bulb, so it doesn't draw in lots and lots of moths, but you do get nice variety. And I'm really delighted that we have here a black rustic.
Oh.
How is that looking?
It looks good. Looks good. Everybody can see it, I think.
Is it sharp? I think I might just try and change this so that I'm on.
No, it is quite sharp. It is a bit camouflaged against the dark, but yeah, there we go.
Well, it's a beautiful moth. It's really sleek. It's quite long. Hopefully you can see that it's quite long in the body.
Yeah.
And it's very dark. It's not quite black, but it's very dark brown. And we might have a chat about that. Why are there so few really dark moths? And why is this moth so dark? Possibly, I might argue that this one lives in the it overwinters as a larvae, and it always feeds low down in the vegetation, and it pupates in the ground. So you might argue, well, you know, and it feeds at night as well. So you might argue, well, it's good if it's dark, but actually the caterpillar is fairly bright green. So, so why is that so dark? I don't know whether you can see. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my bearings again. You probably can't see, but it's got some lovely white crescents on the wing, and it has actually, when they're fresh, got beautiful gold spots.
Yeah, we could see that, Simon. Yeah.
Cracking. Right, okay, let's, I've been really lucky with the merveille du jour, the marvel of the day. I'm just going to open this gently. The thing about my trap is that it's not very easy to get into without disturbing the moths. But I've got 2 stars here. There we go. There it is. Woohoo!
Yeah, well done. Yeah, everybody was hoping for one of those last night on chat, I remember.
Yeah. So this is the merveille du jour. So it may be because, again, I've been trapping beneath the oak tree. They feed on oak. They feed on oak flowers, and then later on the leaves. And here is the other autumn star, the green brindled crescent. And if I just move away from the trap a bit, can you see it's got this most amazing green spangled speckling on the top of the wings. I've got a couple in the trap, so I might try and get another one out and see if we've got a fresher one. This is an autumn moth. This is very much a moth that feeds on the shrubs, the shrub layer of the woodland. So the hawthorns and the blackthorns and the hazels. So this is a moth that's going to be commoner where you've got those shrubby layers in a woodland.
Great. You've got about a minute or so left, Simon.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll put those back because there's something rather nice which colleagues might be able to help me identify, because I'm a little bit excited that it might be an autumnal green carpet, which is quite a local species. And I'm hoping it's not going to fly away.
Well, the green one on the side of there.
Yeah,
I can see him. It's quite difficult to get him in focus. But does anyone know? Does anyone know what that is?
Yeah, John's saying probably red-green carpet. It probably is a red-green carpet because that would be the commoner one.
Yeah.
And I was doing what birders call stringing then, trying to turn something that's common into something that's rare.
No, well, you never know. Well, as you put one or two of them up later this morning, if it is rare, you can. If it is the one that is rare, you can let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John says good try. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably what I'll do is that's enough from me, and I'll look in there more deeply into the trap and see if there's anything else there. And also I'll try and figure out how I sharpen up this screen. Anyway,
yeah,
that's it. Moment from Exeter.
We've had a couple of people come back saying they've not got so many in their traps, so I think there's a reasonable chance, Simon, that we would love to come back and see what else you've got in there in a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks very much, Simon, and we might see you later. And we're on now to into Cornwall, Penryn and Falmouth area to see Dave Hodgson, who has been setting his trap with his son and his dog.
So I'm just in the middle of a trap panic actually, because it's getting really stormy here, and it's a trap panic and a laptop panic as well. I really can't can't afford to be losing this laptop. So I don't want to retreat to the shed because that will take too long. I'll just show you. I mean, so this is there's the usual setup, and the pile of egg boxes is growing around me as I hunt desperately through them. And this is also where I reveal that I'm relatively new to the world of moths. It's kept me sane through this year, and I've collected quite a few species. But as the season has progressed, on a daily basis, I'm discovering new things. And what I don't have the chance to do today is to scuttle off and spend an hour with my book trying to work out what the blooming heck it is that I've found. But last night I was excited because something arrived while we were chatting last night, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a lunar underwing, which is new to the trap for the year. And the reason I'm panicking as well is so Jo Wood, who's on the call, actually gave me a fantastic adjective for moths this year. She talked about them being very sportswear in the morning. There was just some mornings where the moths are just desperate to get going. So I'll get them out of the trap, and it'll fly away almost immediately. That one has not done so, which is incredible because it flew just before. Confirmations from people would be really nice, but it did show its underwing to me just a few minutes ago, and there are dark markings on the underwing, on its kind of pearlescent underwing. So I've got a lunar underwing for that, but people in the chat might disagree with me. I've got a it's gonna fly. I know it's gonna fly. I can see it. Can you see it?
Where?
It's flying in its pot already. In its pot. That's a shuttle-shaped dart. It's just landed on my laptop screen, and it's flown now.
Yeah,
So
we saw it cross in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be a robin fly past to catch it in a second.
Oh, I'm not.
I'll keep going. I'll just keep going through. But yeah, a relatively quiet night, which is not unusual in Falmouth for the last couple of weeks. What I am guessing is quite a lot of hoverflies, and we're getting quite excited by the migrants in our trap this year. So if that's going to sharpen up, there's a really nice little marmalade hoverfly coming in. They've been coming in quite large numbers these last
Where are
few
they from
nights.
then? Where have they flown from?
Well, it's a great question, and we've got people working on the campus in our department. Jason Chapman is famous for this. He has a vertical radar machine that will zoom up into the sky and detect things flying past, and we're looking to try and identify them from that radar. But almost, so we know the marmalade hoverfly is flying down through Europe and then back up again on an annual basis, and lots of our moths are doing the same thing. So we're lucky on this south coast that we're picking up quite a few of the immigrant moths. I had a fantastic fresh silver Y just the other day, which, you know, to the best of our knowledge, has flown in from France or Spain. So it's quite exciting when they arrive to think about the journey that they've been on, just to, you know, just to share a couple of moments with me in the morning. I think the trap has run dry. I did have a black rustic last night, but Simon has shown us the black rustic. That's one of my favorites. It's fantastically sleek and dark and velvety.
And why do you think,
but those are the
why do you think we don't get many black moths like that then?
Well, I think it's a really good question. I would argue it goes beyond moths. I think, you know, you think of some classic black creatures and you think of you know, black leopards. But really, how many completely jet black creatures that have fur or feathers or scales do we have? There's the blackbird as well, isn't there? But it seems to me a bit unusual that black is somehow not favored by natural selection. So the black rustic is one that just it nails it, doesn't it?
So
like Labrador.
we can continue to think about that, and thanks, Dave, and good luck with future moth trapping, and hopefully we'll meet again in 2021 at some point. Thank you.
I hope so.
We move on to Katie. Katie,
hello.
So down in Cornwall and works in the Exeter University out of Penryn, don't you, Katie? You're one of our directors even. So can you describe a bit about the work you do in relation to the moth eyes?
Yeah, so yeah, I work at the University of Exeter, specifically in the Environment and Sustainability Institute. But yeah, my research is more into optics, specifically for solar panels, to improve their efficiency. So solar panels actually do use the moth eye pattern to improve their absorption efficiency. So moth eyes have this very unique, lots of bumps, and they found that the longer the bumps, the more absorption that can kind of take place because of all these kind of internal reflections and increasing the active area, as it were, of the surface. But there's also lots of interesting optical effects and wavelength filtering that moths' eyes or butterfly wings, etc., that we're trying to look into to replicate nanostructures which do the same or do some parts of the same thing to apply to solar panels and other optics for increasing transmittance, reflectance, and absorption, depending what you want and what system. But yeah, so I mean, what Dave was saying about black, that is something that researchers look into, is how black can you get something? And there's all sorts of tricks that people steal from nature, whether it's these moth eye nanostructures or there's sorts of polarization techniques and all sorts of filtering and interference effects that people try to replicate from nature.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we were amazed. We were amazed when we first visited Katie. Katie has been doing some research on some of our solar artworks and just finding out how efficient you can be with different coloured solar cells and etching and so on. And then we found out about these butterfly wings from the cabbage white, was it, or large white?
So it's the cabbage white butterfly, which has very reflective wings. So it's a very white butterfly, the opposite, I suppose, of one of the black moths. And it has a unique structure of something called pateran beads, which is responsible for its very high reflectance, which we found quite surprising for a natural substance to have such a high reflectance with such a small, thin piece of material, as it were. And also, the cabbage white actually reflects light using its wings onto its body so that it can heat up its flight muscles faster in the morning. So right now, it'd be basking in not very sunny light, trying to gather as much energy as it can onto its body so it can fly away before any other butterflies to get to the best fruits, etc.
Yeah.
And there's also the glass-wing butterfly. So looking at that for transmittance, it's got a completely different wing structure.
So, well, it's so good to hear that you so many people are interested in moths and butterflies for all sorts of reasons. So I'm hoping that the research that you're doing is successful in relation to providing more efficient solar technology for us to use more from the sun instead of fossil fuels as well.
Yeah, but also make them look nicer. That's
well, we're into that, as you know. So we might pop back to you, Katie. Thank you very much. We're now flying further up north again into Exeter, into Chloe's house, because she is doing a nice mucky thing with her boys.
Hello everyone. I'm here with Hector and Felix, and we are in Hervey in Exeter, and we've been mucking around with our activity pack. And I thought when we were planning this, won't it be a good idea to make seed bombs that we can prepare for Christmas so that the boys have stuff that they can give to people? And then I realised having mud and clay and stuff like that near my computer on the kitchen table at breakfast first thing on a Saturday might have been a bit of a reach. However, the boys have been brilliant. So Felix, you have been putting everything into the mix, haven't you? What's gone into this mix? This stuff. You know, you can use some words to can't actually see what you're talking about. Do you want Hector to do it? No. Okay, go on, use some words then. Clay. Compost, and seeds. And anything else? No. What about the water? Yeah. Yes. And also, Hector's been mixing it all up into balls, and then we've transformed them into these little mini planets.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Little bits of tissue paper on the outside so that we can make them into, because we were thinking about the sorts of things that we would like world leaders to do to help us to respond to the climate emergency. Felix, what was your idea? What? Do you remember you were talking about it?
People don't like that stupid plastic LOL stuff and stuff like that.
Well, Felix, LOL stuff, Felix gets really annoyed when he is given or buys or finds toys that break, and that they break really quickly. He thinks it shouldn't be a thing, that people should make really bad plastic toys that break really easily. And Hector, what was yours?
I don't want people to throw thermonuclear water into the ocean.
Yeah, so we've been worrying about the nuclear plant in Japan, where we heard that there was going to be radioactive water going back into the ocean, and we were all a bit worried by that. So that was quite a dramatic hope for the future, that we don't have lots of nuclear waste in the oceans, that we make good toys. Yeah. And I was thinking, because I thought I should probably have a hope for the future too, I was thinking that I would really like, in the spirit of art and energy, for us to have energy generation installations across the world that feed people's souls as well. Yeah, feed people's artistic souls, as well as giving us lots of really lovely green electricity. So that's us from Heathertree.
Yeah, thank you. I love. Can we have another look at your seed balls made into little planets? I like those. So they've rolled up the clay with the seed and the compost, and then they covered them in tissue paper. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chloe and family. And so those are Chloe's family's messages to world leaders. And if you've got any other messages that you would like to give, please leave them in the chat. Yes.
Can I jump in for a minute? So we've got one from Randall, who says, to world leaders, please remember the planet is for all of us now, and that means all animals and plants as well as us. And then we've got a couple of comments on the lovely seed bomb planets. And Mighty Moth Girl is likely to do the same with her children for Christmas presents, and I think I'm going to follow suit. And she says that last year they gave out soap bars, and they also, her son had made a poster about swapping shower gel in plastic bottles to soap bars, and so that went out with the soap bars. I think that's a brilliant idea. And Jane at the scrap store and at Precious Plastics Plymouth and Tavistock, who we're really excited to be working with in the coming months. She says she agrees with Felix about the plastic toys, and go along and check out their page. We'll share the link in the chat in a minute to find out more about Dr. Dot and Precious Plastics, which is a fantastic education project all about reducing plastics and local recycling, and yeah, just fantastic.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad chat's away. I find when I'm hosting, I don't look at the chat much, so I'm just looking at my watch and listening and chatting to you. So on that note, we coming over to Sarah.
Hi.
Hello, Sarah. What have you found in your moth trap today?
Well, not a huge amount, but not nothing. So I see that as positive. On the black rustics front, I seem to get quite a lot here. So when I put the trap out a couple of nights ago, I think I had 5 or 6 black rustics, and last night I had 3. Of varying degrees of being worn. Excuse me. Some of them are not looking so black now, and more sort of a brown with clear bits on them. But yeah, got some black rustics there. Got beaded chestnut, which I I put the photos, by the way, on the Facebook page underneath, so people can see. Obviously, I'll take proper photos later, but these are just quick photos. So that's the beaded chestnut just there.
Oh yes. Yeah. Do you know, what does that? Do you know where it lives? You know what it feeds on, and as a caterpillar and so on.
I think probably John would know the answer. I have to make a bit of an admission here that obviously being fairly new to the mothing world from 2018, I didn't do a lot of autumn sort of winter mothing because the moth groups we didn't go out at this time of year so much, and I think just life got in the way. So for me, actually, a lot of these species are kind of fairly new, which is why.
Oh, great. Well, that's.
So when I got the yellow line Quaker this morning, I've not caught that before, so I had to double check that's what it was.
Yeah.
But it's quite a sweet little moth in that it holds its wings out in a sort of triangular shape, because one of the ways to be able to tell different species apart is often how it holds itself. I know that people in the birding world will be familiar with the phrase the jizz of the animal, which makes a lot of people laugh when I tell them that, which stands for the general impression, size and shape. So different creatures hold themselves in different ways. So again, with moths, some of them rest with their wings wide open, some of them with them completely overlapping. And with this moth, it's quite triangular, the shape of where it sort of holds its wings, and so they're not overlapping too much, and it's a fairly short moth. Whereas as they were saying that the black rustic's quite a long moth, this one's quite a short one. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And I got green brindled crescent as well, like Simon, which I got it's quite a nice one actually. So they're quite beautiful. Had quite a few of them the other night, and in different lights, the sort of the green on the back, it sort of shimmers and shines. It's really beautiful. So really pleased with those. Yeah, it was good.
Good. Well, that's brilliant. And are you going to set up your trap later in the week or next week or the?
Yeah, I always look at the forecast and just see, when there's a good sort of weather night. I mean, right now it's now started raining as well as being windy, so it's not. Sorry, my son. I'm just talking on here a second. Okay, darling. Yeah, but one thing I have to say I'm a big fan of about autumn and winter mothing is that normally during the summer I set my alarm for 4 o'clock-ish and come down and check the trap and pot anything up that's around the outside. Obviously at the moment I can just get up at normal time and go and check it, and it's still dark, so that's quite nice.
Yes.
Doing that.
Yes. Well, good luck in the in your future catching, Sarah.
Yeah,
and it's been really nice to meet you on the screen, and we hope that we can stay in touch next year as well, and
definitely, yeah.
carry on being part of the Moths to a Flame project. That would be brilliant.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. And we were going to go to another woman mother called Vanessa, who also lives in Somerset, but unfortunately she has broken her bulb, and you have to send off for the bit that she needs replacing or something like that. So we will move on, and we're going to go to Rob in the Midlands and see what he's found. He set 2 traps, didn't you, Rob? You set 2 traps last night.
I did, yes, 2 next to each other, so in the same place. I think one of the bulbs is not as powerful. I think they must wear off after a couple of years, so I probably need to replace it. But it was better than I thought. Okay. So I got 13 moths last night.
Brilliant.
And it's interesting hearing you guys from the southwest describe yours, because yours all sound very much like autumnal moths. Yeah. Moths of the autumn, whereas here it's cold last night, and your warm western rain is just arriving, I think. But I had a mix of autumnal moths and then what I'd call some of the more wintry moths. So I had in the autumn stuff, I had a yellow line Quaker sallow and some barred sallows and 3 spruce carpets. But then I also had predictably 4 November moths, but also my first December moths as well. So the December moths are quite attractive things. I've got one on a card. I don't know whether this will work. Hold on.
I'm sure
Can't see what I'm doing. Can you see that?
Yes, we can. Oh, it's got is the whitish area?
That's its head, yes.
Wow.
So that's a December moth.
And that does that live in trees and feed off shrubs?
Yeah, trees and shrubs. It's quite common.
Yeah.
So, but that for me is a sign that sort of the winter moth cohort is arriving.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting to see the difference between where we are down in the southwest and yourselves.
Yeah.
Have you noticed over the last sort of 10, 20 years the change in mixture of moths that have turned up at different times? Has there been a change or not?
Well, I've not been mothing for that long, but last year here in Rutland, oak. What do I mean? Oak beauty. I've forgotten the name. Do I mean oak beauty? I don't.
Okay. No.
Bear with me a sec. I'll find it. Right. But it's recently colonised, and I think last year we had the first, second, and third records. Oh God, I can't. I've forgotten its name completely now.
That's right.
Do you mean oak processionary?
No, I don't. No, it's tree lichen beauty. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
It had tree in it somewhere. Tree lichen beauty. Just arrived in Rutland a couple of years ago, and last year I had, I think, the second and third county records in the garden. So it's colonising. It's moving up from the south. I've got a friend in Essex who's been catching it for years. So there are some moths moving up, and I didn't get any, but like other people in the country, have been quite a lot of the Cliftons around here, but alas, not to my moth trap.
Oh, well, so, and do you reckon that might be because of the effects of climate change, the general warming up? Shifting?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there are lots of species which are commoner than they were. I mean, lots of mollusks seem to be increasing. Some of the plant species, which was my first interest, are increasing. And some of the ferns, which like warmer and wetter conditions, are commoner now than they used to be.
Yeah. There was a thing on Facebook the other day that was saying that moths were quite good indicators of climate change. It was just discussing where they were colonizing and what was happening. And
well, they're certainly more mobile than some plants, so you'd expect them to move faster.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Keep the questions for Rob and the chat going, and if any of you haven't yet put your message to world leaders, pretending that COP26 is going to happen in 3 weeks' time, what would you tell them? What would you ask them? What would your hopes be? And we will now fly onwards. We're moving to Dan in Wales. Are you there, Dan?
Hello, I am.
Yeah. Hi.
Hear me? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone's catches and hear of everyone's spoils for today. It was very wet, extremely windy. I think we had gusts of about 45, 50 mile an hour up in our neck of the woods. So I had a single moth, which was on the outside of the trap, which is brilliant, which flew off before I could catch it to show you it. Always the way, isn't it? Typical. But it was a chestnut, dotted chestnut. So absolutely cracking thing. But I didn't know at this time of year, it's pretty poor around here. Most of the moths we catch are very June, July in this neck of the woods, but we do catch some pretty nice things. And what I'll do, I'll just share my screen if that's okay, and just show a couple of pictures just to illustrate a little bit about where I am and what I'm doing.
Yeah, of course.
Oops. Okay, can you all see that? So that's my back garden. Well, part of my back garden. I'm very lucky, as I say, that I live right next to the beach. So I've got limestone grassland right adjacent to me, and remnants of an old woodland as well. So it's a great place for moths. And because of that coastal proximity, I do pick up some really, really nice little species in here, like this large ranunculus. So these are actually quite common in lots of parts of the world, but in my neck of the woods, this is quite a nice moth to find. So again, what's common for some moths are very rare for others, depending on where you live. I think Dave was saying that he wants to catch a December moth and things like that. It very much depends on where you are for a lot of these things, and sometimes you'll go your entire life and never catch it. So you have to that eternal tick boxing. You need to move around a lot. For example, a lot of my friends live in uplands up in Yorkshire and things like that, and they catch lots of antler moths, which are very common in the grasslands around there. I don't get any. I don't get a single antler moth around here. So I get very excited when I go up to Yorkshire and see a moth trap full of 300 antler moths. Most people just want to get rid of them, quite frankly. Cracking things. I mentioned a couple of the other coastal species that we pick up that we're monitoring around here as part of long-term efforts in South Wales. There's a great community looking at butterflies and conservation here because of the remarkable landscapes, and particularly the calcareous grasslands for some of the blue butterflies in particular, cracking things. But we've got a shore wainscot and the L. album wainscot here, so are both coastal specialists. The L. album wainscot on the right-hand side is a fescue grass specialist. Fescues are lovely grasses. They're very round and smooth when you feel them, so they're quite distinctive to look at. And the shore wainscot is a marram grass feeder, so sand dune systems. So again, some of these organisms are at the actual limit of their ranges due to the habitats, the distribution of those habitats. We don't have huge amounts of sand dune anymore. There's little patches up on the Northumbrian coastline, and that's the next place to look for the movement of these wonderful creatures as the climate progresses. A few people were mentioning wax moths the other day. Well, I do a lot of work on bees and hoverflies and various other things. It may not look exciting to you, but this year this was a tree bumblebee nest. Tree bumblebees is quite a recent colonizer to the UK. I think 1991, I think the first colonies appeared, and they've spread throughout the whole of the United Kingdom. And with them, we've also seen quite invasive parasitism by lesser wax moth and wax moths. So this is what happens to the colonies. They never get particularly large colonies anyway, and when the wax moths come in, that's it, because it's just denuding the support structure for the larvae as they grow. So just wanted to mention those and just add some insight into what people have been talking about as well. So a fairly poor catch of the day, but I think that's the important thing. It never be put off if you are just starting mothing. There will be days where you go out to that empty trap with soggy cardboard boxes. Don't worry about it. You know, keep going, but make sure your records count and try and send them in to people. I make that point because we're talking about climate change, and there are discussions, and I think it's very relevant to talk about it here, about the climate impact, the carbon impact of setting moth traps. And it's something that we should talk about and discuss. And make sure that when we actually moth trap, we are using that data effectively. No sampling is without the use of energy, so don't think that this is specific just to moths. All biodiversity sampling involves the use of energy, but it's very visible. It's a very powerful thing, and it's something that our community should really talk about in terms of how we can improve the efficiency of the design of traps whilst minimizing the light pollution from them. LEDs are brilliant, but they're not as powerful as mercury vapor lamps, et cetera, and there's a difference in the carbon costs of those things. So it is a discussion that UK mothers are having, but it's the elephant in the room. But I think it's worth saying.
Yeah, it's a great point. Thank you very much, Dan. And lovely photographs of some of the moths that you do see. So thanks for putting that together.
No problem.
And the points about climate change too, really good. And Richard Fox, actually, he's one of our presenters down in Devon, and he wanted to just say something as well. I don't know whether it's in response to you, Dan, or is it something else, Richard?
Hi there. Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, and I like your backdrop.
Thank you. Well, I thought I caught almost nothing last night. It's horrible here. It was really cold and clear until I went to bed, and then I got up this morning and it's lashing it down with this storm that the various Southwest presenters have mentioned. but I thought it might be helpful to show a few pictures. If I can share my screen, work out how to do that. Sorry, hold on a sec. So I've just put together a few photos, or sort of close-up photos. It's lovely to see the live moths that people are catching. Can we see that?
Yeah, yeah.
But obviously it's very difficult for people to show the moths in detail when they're trying to do it live on Zoom with a mobile phone or a laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is a red green carpet. So this is coming back to Simon and his wannabe autumn green carpet, which is something I'd love to see as well. So that's a kind of classic red green carpet with some red on it. So it's a kind of green moth, but it's got this kind of red, browny red sort of streaks on it. One of the weird and interesting things about red green carpet is that they hibernate through the winter. So this is kind of normal time to see them, and again in the spring, but only the females hibernate. So all of the red green carpets that emerge after winter in the springtime are females. There are no males there at all. There's another one. It's quite a variable moth, but again, you can see the sort of streaky brown stuff on it, which tells you that it's red green carpet. Now that's the kind of one that would get me excited, and the sort of one that got Simon excited this morning. That's still a red green carpet, but there isn't much sign of the red and the red on there, or the brown on there. So that's when your heart,
variable, aren't they?
Yeah, your heart gets fluttering there, and you think, oh, this could be my first ever autumn green carpet. That is autumn green carpet. It's a much stripier thing. And also we were talking about the moth atlas in the chat last night, and that's the moth atlas that we published last year. But this is the map of autumn green carpet. So you can see that it is a northern and western species in Britain. So actually down here in Devon, it's pretty scarce moth, and it's really up on Dartmoor on the higher ground, and the same through Wales and then up into northern England and Scotland. So it would be a very, well, I mean, it does occur in Devon, but it's an exciting thing to see, and certainly pretty scarce down in Cornwall.
Yeah.
Another one we've been talking about is green brindle crescent, and very hard to do justice to these beautiful shiny scales that people have been talking about on a live moth on a webcam. But there you get an idea of the scales. It comes in these two different color forms, again, just to add some variety. So normally they have this dusting of beautiful iridescent emerald scales, but sometimes they're just brown. Here's the lovely black rustic, velvety black rustic with its little yellowy cream spot. And then just the last one, Rob mentioned December moth. I think the earliest I've ever seen a December moth here in South Devon is the 18th of November. Normally I don't see them until well into December. So that just shows the seasonal differences just between Devon and Rutland, never mind sort of Devon and Scotland. But it's a beautiful moth. Look how furry it is, just to keep the winter chill off.
I really like a furry moth. The oak nigger moth that I found earlier, and I've been keeping the caterpillars. I love the rusticy, furry body that it has.
Yeah, so don't pack your moth trap away for winter. Wait for those, think about the carbon footprint, and wait for those best possible nights, those mildest nights. Get your moth trap out and bag yourself a December moth, because they are absolutely gorgeous. I'll just say none of those photos are mine. They've all been lent to me by wonderful photographers. So anyway, that was what I thought might be useful.
Yeah, no, it's lovely to see close-ups of the moths that people have been finding in the wild, as it were. And thanks again to Dan for his points. I've just, out of the corner of my eye, I just noticing the chat that was going on in relation to some of the comments that he made too. So hopefully we'll see you again, Dan, next year too, maybe. And we'll certainly keep in touch. We are now going to, who are we going to? Jenny, I think. Jenny and Claire, maybe, because we, in order to carry on with Moths to a Flame next year, we are developing a crowdfunder with Plymouth Energy Community. Do you want to just say a couple of words about that?
So we were going to start off by showing you, oh, hang on a moment here. Oh, isn't it annoying when the Zoom things gets in the way of your view of what it is you're doing? Has it gone? Slideshow. So we wanted to start off with our map with all the locations from last night. These are the ones that went into the chat. And I think it's fantastic that we've got a stretch up the country, but equally we at Art and Energy have been having lots of conversations about how this project really is relevant to anybody with a light switch or a plug socket. And so we would love to be able to share it further, broader. I'm going to pass over to Claire for a moment so she can talk about that side of things.
Hello. So yes, yesterday we were talking about energy and cocooning ourselves, weren't we? So I just wanted to try and make partly good on the promise that I made, which was that I'd try and find some agencies and community energy organisations around the country that were relevant to all of those places on the map. So I'm going to drop them in batches just into the bottom down here, and I'm going to start in the southwest with us with Cornwall and Devon. And let's put in Somerset while we're there. Here we go. Gonna pop you in here. So if you're in Cornwall, Community Energy Plus is a long-standing charity that help you with free energy advice. They also have collective buying groups for fuels and oil and the like. Devon Community Energy Network, oh my goodness, Devon is packed with community energy organisations who give, usually outside of COVID time, free home visits, but they're doing things over the phone and in the best ways that they can, and they're well worth checking out. And then heading up a little bit, Somerset and Bristol, you've got Centre for Sustainable Energy, which is about as old as I am and very good at what they do. And their reach is right across Bath and Somerset and Bristol and the like. And then, right, let's take the midsection of the country. I'm ever so sorry if I've missed anyone. Here we go. Pop you in. Here's the next. Norwich, I spotted this morning. cozycity.co.uk will help look after you. Nest, I could only find the overarching one for the whole of Wales. But somebody to ask, as I'll put in a minute, is the Fuel Poverty Charity National Energy Action, and they have everywhere mapped across the country, so that would be a good one to look at as well. I know Nest has got a really good reputation. Kenilworth, Act on Energy. Sorry, carry on.
I was just saying that we found Dan working in Swansea via various friends of friends, but I also came across Gower Power.
Gower Power has got a lovely name. I like that one. I don't know if Gower Power do community support or whether it's mainly concentrated on renewables and yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to say Gower Power because I just like
I think everyone should say Gower Power at least once.
Just to say, Gower Power are very much community orientated, and they do
wonderful.
And they do actually invite communities on to actually grow fruit and vegetables on the land with their power systems as well. So I've done a lot of work looking at the biodiversity aspects of the land they manage. So brilliant organisation.
So thumbs up to them. That's really important stuff. We have wildflower meadows around our Ernie Settle solar array that's on the old landfill. And we get schools coming in and out, and we like to take people on trips around that. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do because they can look, well, they are pretty boring to look at from above. We're hoping to change a bit of that as well. Right, I'm going to head up the country a little bit now, and I'm going to cover Wirral and Cheshire with Energy Projects Plus, Yorkshire with their Energy Doctor, and Glasgow with G-Heat. Here we go.
Thank you.
If you want to have a little look at those. And then finally, sorry, I will let you move on. There are two organisations that are well worth having a ferret about. And National Energy Action is they're also up in Scotland as well, and are do wonderful work to combat fuel poverty and lots of policy and influencing work. And then there's Community Energy England, which is a bit of a misnomer because they list everywhere in the country and you can be a member regardless of where you are.
Yeah, thanks, Claire. And the crowdfunder, Jenny?
So I'm going to double check with Claire what the dates are at the crowdfunder. I'm rather foolishly haven't written those down in front of me.
Oh, it's fine. It kicks off on Monday, the 2nd of November, and it'll run for 4 weeks.
We've got all sorts of goodies as rewards for the crowdfunder. So we worked with Miranda Barlow, who's an Exeter-based author, to create this illustrated storybook, The Moth's Whisper, which has become a sound favourite with my girls already. We'll have some within our collective. We've been creating artworks. So this is one of Chloe's Oak Ghoul ink moth drawings. There will be a whole range of those available. I do some glass etching. So this is a lantern etched with moth imagery on there. We will also have the option of sponsoring workshops in schools and community groups and so on. So please do think about doing that and spreading the word further. And if there's something that doesn't, you've got a slightly different idea that you're interested in, then do get in touch, because we can be flexible on these things. We've also got moth making kits, which, don't worry, they're not actually moths. They are, well, they are, but they're laser cut paper moths, and they're glow in the dark. So you can decorate your own moth to add to the installation or to keep at home, entirely up to you. And this is an idea of the sort of installation that those then go in. These are paper laser cut glow in the dark moths that have been decorated by many people in Plymouth. And this is all part of our project to be creating a mass participation artwork to take up to Glasgow for COP26. We're obviously all uncertain as to what COP26 will look like and whether it does go up to Glasgow, but either way we will be creating this this exhibition, a bit of digital, a bit of physical, to try and raise that awareness of the desire for change amongst all of us, and kind of giving politicians permission as much as anything else to make those changes on our behalf. And that's where the whispers come in. And then I will come on to this slide at the end again in a little bit, but we are really keen to have those conversations. So the email address at the bottom there, hello@artandenergy.org, and please do get in touch with us. And we will say thank you again at the end, but a huge thank you to Plymouth Energy community in particular for seeing the potential in what it is that we're trying to do with creating, empowering people to make changes through creativity and starting those conversations, and also Arts Council England for helping us do that as well.
Yeah, thanks Jenny. We're going to cross fingers with our crowdfunder, because if we are successful, then we can carry on with this sort of thing and all sorts of activities about moths and about energy next year. We have a couple more places to go, and I know we're running a little bit late, but we're not too bad, only a few more minutes. I think we'll go up to Glasgow now and maybe finish on John's film. Are you there, Ella and Bella, in Glasgow? Are you there? And if not, it might be John. Oh, you are there. Hello, Ella and Bella. Have you unmuted yourself? See whether you can unmute yourself. At the moment, you can't. Oh, you might be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, yeah,
Hello.
We had an incredibly rainy night and sadly didn't find anything. And we also think we came to the moth trap too late, but we're not going to be beaten down. We're going to make another one at some point.
Just learning, I guess. We need to, yeah.
It was a great moth trap that the children made. Did they ask any interesting questions of you, Ella?
I think they were keen to know why the moths would want to stay in the trap. And whether moths would come out when it was raining. Some of them didn't know what moths were. So lots of good chat did come out of it. Yeah, but it would be really nice to make one with them that was successful. It's a bit harder doing it there because the playground only opens at a certain time every day, and so even though here it's darker, I mean yeah, when we got up at 8 this morning it was still pretty dark outside almost. And so yeah, even though we've got that on our side, it's still difficult in that by the time you get to the trap, I feel like most of them will have followed the light out, but it's something we can think around.
I was going to get John in. Hello, John, are you there? Yeah, well,
yes.
you know, did you see the trap that Ella and Bella made with the children?
Yes, yeah.
And then they put it in the rabbit house because of the wet. But
yeah.
Do you think where would be a better place for them?
I think it would be better to put it outside, and also try and make the light as prominent as you can, or have some sort of reflective material around it. So really you want to make that light shine as far as you can out, you know, within reason and without disturbing other people, of course. So it's really about positioning your trap, and maybe putting it out in a sheltered spot. As you'll see in my little film in a minute, it's been raining pretty well every night this week. So you've got to be a bit ingenious sometimes about running the trap when the weather's not so good.
Yeah.
But there's always little sheltered spots like porches and places like that, which are actually quite good little spots for catching moths. And you can put the moth trap in there. And if you've got some white walls around, then it will reflect the light out and the moths will come in. And often you do get moths in porches where there's a little night light being put on. They're often good places to look. So have a think about that.
Yeah.
And there's lots of advice out there. There's lots of people who know lots of things about moths. So just ask questions. I mean, there's lots of people very willing to help.
Yeah,
that's great.
And so Ella, it sounds like you could have fun with a bit of reflective material, Ella, around it. If you're going to make a sort of sculptural moth trap, that might work.
Yeah, definitely. The kids might enjoy that as well.
Yeah. So is it raining there now?
Yeah,
Packing it down.
Is it?
Yeah. It's the huge storm last night. Yeah, but that's okay. It's quite cozy, not flat.
Well, thanks for being presenter and encouraging the young'uns at the Adventure Playground to join in, and thanks for representing Glasgow as the host city for COP26.
Thank you.
United Nations Climate. And can you put your hope for the future in a chat, in the chat box, Ella? Can you put something in there to say what would your message be to world leaders?
Okay.
If you were seeing them in 3 weeks' time, maybe what one thing would they do? Ask them to do.
Okay. We'll put it in the chat. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you very much. Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye. Now we're over to John in Devon, back in Devon. He's like Simon, has come along to every Watch Moths this year. Thank you, John, and produced amazing short films for us. So we thought we'd finish on a high with his film.
Oh, well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, well, this is a short film I made. I put the trap on Thursday night. A friend who got a big nature reserve, not just outside Buckfastleigh, just on the south side of Dartmoor. It had been raining, so the trap was set up under the tree, and it still caught a few moths. It wasn't looking too promising, but I went down early in the morning yesterday, opened the trap up, and I was pleased to find there were plenty of moths in there. I did move the trap out because it was a bit dark under the tree, so it's quite hard to see things. I could see there was quite a lot of November moths, as Simon showed us earlier that he caught. There's 3 species of these, almost impossible to tell apart, but I moved the trap out so I could have a better look out in the light. It's still a bit damp. Lots of autumn leaves have fallen down, but it's had a good look in the trap, and there was a reasonable number of moths. Probably most of the things you've seen already, things like beaded chestnuts, or quite a few of those in the trap. Typical autumn moth, red line quaker, which we've seen. I probably haven't got any moths you haven't seen. I've got some wasps. I always catch plenty of wasps. This is a common wasp. And caddisflies as well. And caddisflies and moths, they're sometimes confused. Caddisflies have got these very long antennae and they haven't got scales on their wings. They are related to moths. I mean, moths and caddisflies have a common ancestor from a few million years ago. This is a red-green carpet, which you've already seen, and a barred sallow moth. Some lovely, there's the red-green carpet. I stuck it on, or it just flipped onto a wall nearby, and it's amazing how it just blends into the background. I love its green eye.
Beauty.
It used to have like a dark pupil. That's not a true pupil, it's on moths. It's just something that looks like a pupil, but it does give it some character. And it's amazing. You just put it, you know, as Richard said, just the females hibernate, so they just sit on a tree. There's a black rustic, charcoal sort of black colour, and some more. There's a yellow lion quaker and another beaded chestnut in the trap there, and a lunar underwing. So quite a few of these species which mimic dead leaves. There's another yellow lion quaker there, and you can see all the leaves around the trap. And there's a stonefly as well, a sort of primitive relative of the lacewings, which turned up in the moth trap, and lots of little flies and things as well. One of the best moths we caught was a really fresh satellite moth. And you can see it has the little white blob with the 2 white satellites around. A very fresh spruce carpet, pine, one of the pine feeding moths, which fly quite late into the year. They fly throughout the year. A great big dung beetle, which appeared in the trap. These often fly around this time of year looking for dung, and they're quite common on Dartmoor and also down on the coast. They're beautiful metallic colour underneath, and they carry these little mites around as well. I put some of the moths on the autumn leaves. Actually, they look better on there than on the egg boxes. So there's the yellow line quaker. There's that one, a red line quaker, that one, and there's a beaded. Oh, another quaker there. There's another red or a yellow line. The colours have gone a bit funny on this. And there is again. So there's the black rustic, and I think the black rustic does sort of blend in with some of the autumn leaves, because you get these very dark leaves and things. So and it's never really totally black. It's this sort of charcoal grey colour, and it's amazing. When you catch these moths in the trap and then put them out in amongst the vegetation, it's amazing how they just blend into the background and actually just disappear. There's the lovely satellite moth and the yellow line quaker as well, just merging in with the autumn leaves. So it's a good time. One of my favourite times to moth trap. There's a nice red line quaker as well. And you can see how if you put them anywhere in the vegetation or amongst leaves, you can find little marks and things like here's the green brindle crescent. It just flipped onto a wall, but you see all that green on the moth, and then there's lots of green on the wall as well around it. Pretty well wherever you put moths, you'll find some connection between the patterns on the moth's wings and the colours around the moths as well. They seem to be able to blend in pretty well wherever they sit.
Fabulous.
So that was it. So a few good moths. I enjoyed putting the trap out. It would have been better if it wasn't raining this week, but pretty well every night it's been raining, and last night of course it was raining even more, so I have to wait for some nice warm, really what you want ideal moth nights is when it's nice and warm and calm, and a bit muggy is the best of the conditions. But yeah, keep trapping, and you'll catch moths right through the winter even as well, as long as you choose your nights. I think that's the key thing to do with moth trapping. Over years you get more experience with knowing when the good moths are going to turn up and at which times of year, and target particular moths, thinking it might be a good night for December moths. If there's a nice mild night just before Christmas, put the trap out then. Yeah,
that's great. Thank you very much, and thank you
so
much for supporting us through this project so far, John. No doubt we will be in touch, and I've got my sleeve of oak egger caterpillars, and you have yours. So we have to compare notes on the moths that appear from those. So thank you for that, and we'll move onwards. Simon actually has said that he has his what was it called, the merveille du jour, in a better light now, and he just wants to be the last presenter. So we're going to move on to Simon just to see this this one beautiful moth of the morning, and then we'll finish. So Simon, can you show us this?
Yeah, not a bit of it. I don't want to be the last. People want their breakfast. I'm starving. So
yeah. Yes, we are. Yeah, we want breakfast.
I did just mount up the Merveille du Jour, and John was just talking about camouflage. So I just thought that just wonderful. Just get so excited about that.
Yeah, can we see it again, please?
Yeah, just let's have a bit of green brindle crescent action.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, that's very nice.
A wonderful. That is camouflaged against those lichens and and there's the black rustic just tucked in there.
Ah.
Let's go back to the marvel of the day, shall we?
Yes, although you've there we are. Yeah, the marvel of the day. For everybody to remember for next year. But I'm sure you will. A lot of our viewers will continue exploring what moths they have in their surroundings in the months to come. But hopefully we'll see you all soon. And so I want to thank Simon. I want to thank everybody for turning up this morning as well as last night. And I want to especially thank our presenters who have come and joined us every month and been involved with the Moths to a Flame project. We've learnt so much about moths ourselves as well, and want to continue to build up on that learning. So thank you for all your help, mothers. And in terms of our project, we've talked about the CrowdFunder briefly, but we also want to thank Plymouth Energy Community and the Arts Council for funding our progress so far. And a reminder to share your messages, your hopes for the future. We've got a place on our website to record your voice if you'd like to, but writing in chat and emailing and joining in on conversations that occur on the website and Twitter and all those other social media avenues, very welcome. And then of course there's good old email there if you want to get in touch and give us feedback. Jenny, is there anything else to say at the end of this morning's show?
I think it might just be reiterating that we all have these hopes for the future, and we all have things that we're doing in our small ways that others, well, no, that you've all got things probably you're doing that I might not have thought of doing, and hopes that others. It's lovely to share those hopes, and a little whisper of hope goes unheard, but when we put them all together, it creates a roar for change, and that's what we're doing. Well, that's what we're trying to do, is to encourage that change that I think we all realise now is so necessary.
Yeah, and the moths carry the message.
Yeah, so, if we want to continue to see the moths, then we've got to make changes as well. So
yeah. Okay, well that's a really, I think that's a really lovely note to finish on. So thank you, and thank you also to our younger presenters, Hector and Felix, and when Robin's been with Amy, and well, it's just really good to have youngsters involved and everybody else. So goodbye, and I hope you have a good breakfast and a good few months, and we'll hopefully see you again in the future.
And we'll be in touch for some feedback and anything we're very grateful for. So
yeah.
Well, very well done, Naomi. Well done, the whole team. Look forward to sharing a drink with you back in North.
Yeah, it'd be lovely if, beyond COVID. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye, John.